Hello again. I'm very happy to be with you. And today we're going to explore a very, very important aspect of indigenous culture in North America and actually all over the world. Wherever you have indigenous people living with nature, you have a high level of physical prowess, of mental acumen, of emotional balance, and deep spiritual accomplishments. And this is seen all over the planet, and we will try to explain why. But as we begin, we're going to go into a grounding meditation, and that's one of the first things people need to do in today's world, is learn how to ground your energy, especially with all the electromagnetic pollution that we experience that is always getting higher and higher, bigger and bigger. It's very important to be able to ground that energy out. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to walk outside barefoot on the dew, on the grass. That will immediately do a very powerful grounding. And if you can do it in the evening, you'll sleep better. And otherwise, you can just imagine, and this is what I'm going to invite you to do as we sing the earth chant and the elements chant. We're going to ground by sending roots of light through the soles of your feet into the ground. You're going to visualize that, imagining that as you listen to two chants. The earth chant, and it's going to be followed by the elements chant, of which we're going to speak of as the elements, they come into the second energy center of your body behind the navel, and they nourish and harmonize all the organ systems of your body. So let us center and go to grounding roots of light through the soles of our feet, deep into the earth, all the way to the crystal heart of the most holy and sacred Earth Mother. So, after grounding, let us do some considerations on very fundamental truths that all indigenous people carry when they are still in harmony with the land. There's one thing that you will notice is that there are no lies in nature. Everything is true. It always reflects the ultimate truth, because everything in nature always corresponds to what we call the original instructions. We all carry that, all of us. The difference with humanity, with human beings, is that they have free will. And free will means that you can actually decide between right and wrong. Now, the rest of nature don't have free will. The animals will always be doing what they're supposed to be doing. You'll never see a wolf go take a beer at the tavern. You'll never see a tree try to grow in the ocean. They do what they're supposed to do 100% of the time, with the exception of domestic animals sometimes, and that's mostly because of the influence of human beings. But when they're not altered, when they're in nature, they always do exactly what they're supposed to do. The same with the elements. So by looking upon nature, on studying nature, on reading the great book of the natural world, where everything is written down, all the laws of nature are there, we are always in truth. We are always in reality. We can always adapt or instruct or come with the basic philosophy of what is a human being and what we are doing here on earth when we observe nature. And this is why when the children would become adults in the native culture, they were brought out into nature, and they would remain with nature for several days, often fasting, to really reflect on what their new role in life is. They're no longer children. They no longer belong to their parents or to the community that tells them what to do. They become adults. And in the civilized worlds, they have adolescence and the crazy teenager years because there's nobody to help them become adults. They've lost the rites of passage. They don't know how to do this anymore. You know, that's one of the things we notice. The more people grow, the more technology grows and becomes much more sophisticated, lesser and the lesser and the lesser the human being becomes, because the muscles that are used to become a true human beings are being replaced by the machines. So any muscle that you don't use, it becomes atrophied and it doesn't work anymore. And that's just, for example, the memory. Now people have everything on their phones. They can't remember a phone number. The memory is shot compared to the incredible memory we used to have in the old days. So, and you can see that in many, many different ways. So nature actually teaches us everything. And one of the basic talents of that were taught to everybody through the stories and the legends and the myths is how to read sign. Reading sign is when you're looking at nature and things happen and there's a movement within. There's emotion, sentiment that happens at the same time as you see something. That's nature talking directly to you. And that's not something that can happen in a civilized world because everything around you is dead. You said technology is dead. It can't reproduce itself. The walls in our houses, they're dead. They will fall away. They don't repair themselves like a human being repairs themselves when he's sick, or an animal or a tree, or everything in nature is alive. And because it's important, and we'll come back to it, the elements are alive. And that's a very important teaching. So as we come farther in let us talk more about another aspect of nature's teachings. The elements are incredibly vast beings because they are beings and they fill the universe. And the greatest of them is what in the Cherokee tradition that I've studied is called sacred sound. If you go to the alchemists in Europe, they called it the ether. And if you go to the Tibetan, they called it the sky. And what it is the infinite space in which the other elements play. So it's the vastest, it's the greatest, it's the biggest of all the elements because there's actually no limit. It encompasses all the galaxies that exist. So, and that's actually a consciousness. It is a consciousness. And so are the different elements, because all of the elements are in all life everywhere. And they are great, incredible beings, like the water, and the fires, and the winds, and the earth, which is the solid material, the dense, coarse, deeper and stronger and harder materials like your bones. That's what in your body represents the earth element the best, and your teeth. And the wind, of course, is constantly flowing through your body. The fire is in every single cell of your body, and that's what makes you possible for you to have a heartbeat and to digest the food. It's the fire. And the wind, the fire, the earth, I think I'm not forgetting any of them. The wind, the fire, the earth, the water, everything is there. So the water, of course, is everything that's water, and most of your being is water. Well over 75% of your body is water. And so in all the ancient traditions, they speak of this. The only people that don't speak of this anymore is the modern contemporary world of high technology. They've lost contact with that, and they're actually perverting it. But the elements don't mind. They are universal, so they'll survive whatever. It's us that are, polluting the fires in our body with electronics. And that is, there's a lot of people today are what do they call hypersensitive, electrosensitive people that can't tolerate these electromagnetic fields. The 5G, they have to isolate themselves in different environments because they're getting real sick. And there's lots of people like that, more and more actually. And the bees are dying off, the birds are dying off. There's a lot of natural beings that these very high level, for example, the 5G vibrations are killing, actually. So that's the perversion of the fire element. And we could go into all of them and we'd see the same thing. So it's very important to have a personal relationship with the elements because they're a part of what you are. And they are great, incredibly great consciousness with which our ancestors could communicate. We still people today that can do that. There's a forest fire and you'll have this elder come along and he'll call on the rain and the wind, and within an hour or two the fire is out. And I've seen this myself. So it's very important to be able to understand that everything is alive in nature and that technology is dead. And so depending on where we want to live, we can make some very acute decisions about life. We would not be able to go straight back to nature today because our bodies, our minds, our knowledge are no longer adapted to that. But it's always possible to come back to the truth and to build a life where both can be tolerated, let's say, in a secure location, so that certain of the positive aspects of technology can be retained, but the negative aspects are put away. And that's wisdom, that's knowledge, that's where we need to go as humanity. So I'm going to share the elements with you through sound. We already did it with the elements chant, but I'm going to play a little bit of flute so that we can... I will do the wind, and then the water, and then the sacred sound, and then the fire, and then the earth. there's something about the vastitude, the immensity of the elements. As I was connecting with them, I improvised. This music is the first time and last time we'll ever hear that. And although I have not the perfect technique, it's not perfect because it's improvised and it's in a state of meditation. Still, at least on my end, I could feel the incredible potential there is in being united and in harmony with the basic elements which constitute our being and the whole of the universe around us. Now, I would like to share with you a myth, the myth of origin, creator myths that are the part of every culture on earth. The Judeo-Christian is the story of Adam and Eve, of course. So it's the story for us of how humanity came to earth and how North America was created. So a very, 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 very long time ago, there was in the land of Great Spirit, which is an immense land, in the middle of which grows a great central tree, enormous, and that it gives to every being in the world of Great Spirit what they need. Everything grows on this central tree to the whole vastitude of the world of Great Spirit, what we call Ungawi, the land of ultimate form. And the daughter of Great Spirit very much liked to go play at the foot of this great tree. And she also liked digging into the earth, like many children. When they find pliable earth, they love to dig into the earth. It's very intriguing and natural substance that making mud cakes, I think all the children have done that at some point or other. Anyway, she was very engrossed nearly every day in just looking at the beautiful earth and digging through it. And one day she dug so much through the earth and the roots of the tree that she came out the other end, and below she could see the earth. And it was beautiful. It had this big blue ball like a sapphire shining in the sky. And it was a deeper blue than the sky. It was wonderfully beautiful. And so she was very engrossed in, looking at this wonderful spectacle, this beautiful ball of water. And every day she would go deeper and dig the hole bigger so she could see more about it. I was very fascinated by this. And one day she went so far that she fell through the hole. And she was falling towards the earth. And Great Spirit, who knows all things, saw this from his place, and he called upon the goose. The wild goose in our country, all over America, are very, very important birds. They are the most community-minded birds that exist. They always fly in a V with a leader that's taking the brunt of the pressure and dividing the winds. So the others, it's very easy to float on this. It's very intricate. And when it gets tired, there's another one that comes up, and they're all in couples for life. And so they have a very organized community. And so when Great Spirit called upon the animals of the earth to see who could help Sky Woman, we call her Sky Woman, that was falling towards the earth so that she would land appropriately. Well, a big flock came up, and all of them grabbed a strand of her clothing, and they just held her in the air, hovering like that. And then the goose, who have a very powerful voice, they called upon the beings in the waters and says, who can hold the Sky Woman who's coming to visit us? This sacred being is coming down. We need Hulk to carry her. And so there's this great sea turtle that came up, and he could land on my back. So they let her slowly down onto the back of this huge turtle. And there she was, amazed at everything that was happening and finding everything beautiful, and all the animals coming up to welcome her. And it was a great visit from the land of Great Spirit. And so at some point she says, well, I can't always stay on the back of a turtle. It's a bit small, even if this is a gigantic turtle. What I would need is a bit of earth. And so could one of you dive down to the bottom of the waters and bring me some dirt, some earth? And so, of course, the most arrogant of all the animals says, I will do it. And so the puma, the cougar, that great mountain lion, he dived down and he swam as hard as he could and tried to get to the bottom, but didn't make it. He came up sputtering. He said, oh, it's too far. And so then the great bear says, oh, I'll succeed. The bear is pretty good swimmers, especially the big polar bear. So down the bear goes. But it was deep. It was really deep. The whole earth was covered in water. It was really, really deep. He didn't make it either. He came up sputtering like the cougar and says, no, I can't, And so there's a few others that tried, but none of them were able to. And finally, when there was nobody trying anymore, then the muskrat came up and says, okay, I'll try. And so the Sky Woman patted him on the head because he was very small compared to all the others that had tried. And down he goes. And he swam for a long time. And, the animals up and the Sky Woman were there waiting for him, and it's been a whole 30 minutes. They all thought he was dead, And poof, there he appears on the surface of the water, and he was dead. But he had succeeded in his paws. He had 2 clumps of earth. And that's why to this day the muskrat is honored in the traditions of all of the people across Canada and the northern United States who hold this, because many of the peoples, although this specific story comes from the Mohawk people, many, many people across Canada and the northern United States have a similar story. And so, and we'll explain something that can prove that. And so they thanked the spirit of Muskrat, and Sky Woman honored him, and then she took the 2 clumps of earth and she threw it on the back of the turtle, and the land started to spread. And it created plains, and it created valleys, and it created mountains, and it spread throughout and created an immense great land, which, because of the turtle, is called Great Turtle Island. And that's where I was coming to, is that all of the indigenous people of Canada and northern United States, they all call the continent of North America Great Turtle Island. That's the original name of this continent. And it still holds the shape of the turtle. If you look at a map, you'll see that Quebec is one of the paws, up paws, and Alaska the other paw, and then you have Florida the other paw, and California is the other paw, and then Mexico is the turtle, and the Pole North, North Pole, is the head of the turtle. You still see the turtle. It's a bit changed with all the ions of time that have gone by. So that's how. And of course, then there's a very, very long story. It's a creation story, so I'll make it much shorter. And I'm not an accomplished storyteller. I'm just doing what I can. But the next part is very important because she started living on the land, and then she got the visit of the West Wind, who came in disguise, and she had children with the West Wind. Her children had children who had children who had children. And that's how humanity came to the earth, because it's very important to understand that the lifespan of the original people was much, much longer than what we have today. Actually, when they tell you that the life expectancy is longer than it was, it's not true. People could live up to 20,000 years in a long, long time ago. And actually, there are many stories about that too. But so that's the story of how North America and humanity was created. And there's deep teachings in this story that reveal themselves as we hear it again and again and reflect upon it. And that's how the original teachings were given in all indigenous nations throughout the world. And it's very powerful because the children love it. And so they assimilate the basic ethical, moral teachings and understanding of the world in a way that it's integrated in a living, vibrating manner. And so it remains in the people's consciousness. Sky Woman. We're going to conclude this teaching period and sharing with you with a guided meditation to connect with nature, to connect with the elements, to connect with the animals and the plant world and the mineral world, with everything, what in our tradition we call all our relations. So I just want you all to close your eyes and let the sounds guide you, but visualize all the beautiful natural scenery you've seen in your lives and in documentaries or whatever access you have to any kind of nature. Just visualize that. Let yourself be infused with the energy from that, and I'll be channeling here the energy to accompany you so you can have a profound journey into nature's world, which is your world, and it's your inner world too, because it's all the same. And we are a part of nature. Never to forget that. We are essentially a part of nature also. We've just forgotten part of that.